In this video I'll be describing how Geo-Pro can be used to draw some 3D shapes and giving you some tips for accurate reproduction of these shapes. First off, I'm going to draw a cube, but before I do, I'm going to draw two parallel lines using pencil that I can erase later. Now I use Geo-Pro's grid to ensure that the next line is a centimetre apart. I'm just lining it up with grid lines on Geo-Pro, so I've got two parallel lines a centimetre apart. I'm going to set a square on one of the lines, the lower line, and draw it. Then I'm going to draw another square on the next line up, and I'm going to make that perhaps about there, and I'm going to draw the outside edges that will be visible. If you're not sure which ones will be visible, use pencil. But I'm going to use dashed lines for these other edges here, and then I'm going to join up the edges. Some of them will be dashed lines because they're hidden, and some will be solid because they're visible. So there's one way to draw a cube, but those initial parallel lines I believe help. Now I'm going to draw a triangular prism, but again I'm going to draw some parallel lines first. Let's just draw them and make them 2 centimetres apart. Once again I'll use the grid lines on Geo-Pro. I've got a couple of lines 2 centimetres apart that are parallel. So I draw the first end using the 30mm equilateral triangle, and then the next one, perhaps up here somewhere, and I'm going to draw that edge, and this one will be a dashed line. You can use pencil for everything and then decide which ones to make solid lines, and once again join up the corresponding vertices with solid lines, or if they're hidden, dashed lines. You'll be able to do a neater job than me. I'm trying to rush this a bit for the video. And the final top edge, there's a triangular prism. Next I'm going to draw a cylinder based on parallel lines 4 centimetres apart. So if I move up there and line up my grid lines using pencil, there are my 4 centimetres apart parallel lines. Then I'm going to use the ellipse, the wide ellipse on Geo-Pro. Again, you can use the grid lines to help line that up. I'll draw the top circle or ellipse. Then I can move down to whatever distance I want and draw the bottom half using a solid line and the top half using a dashed line. Then simply join up the sides, top and bottom, like so. So there's a cylinder. Next I'm going to draw a pentagonal prism based on lines that are 4 centimetres apart. So using the grid lines on Geo-Pro, it's easy to draw parallel lines a set distance apart or a set number of centimetres apart. Now find the large pentagon on Geo-Pro and I'll draw that on the lower parallel line. Next I'm going to move up, and perhaps around about here you can experiment with different positions, and I'm going to draw these 3 edges as solid lines and these as dashed lines. Again, if you're not sure, do them all in pencil. You can make them dashed or solid later on. Then I'm going to join up the edges, the top, the far side here, the bottom, this one in the middle, and this one here will be a dashed line. So it's quite easy to draw a pentagonal prism using Geo-Pro. There we have it. There are a few tips for drawing some 3D solids.